What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another NHL DFS puck drop. I know it has been a couple days since we had back to this format, right, where we had the totals and everything. I know I did a little bit different screen share on Monday, but now we are back to a normal puck drop today. So thanks for tuning in. And if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, guys. It's totally helps us out a ton. We just eclipsed 2,000 subscribers with our channel, and we are looking to continue to grow. So I am Hold the Door DFS. I am the premium NHL content provider at FSI. So if you're looking for more premium content, head over to the channel. I will have the core plays for the early slate today. It's like a weird afternoon slate, and the showdowns as well. So let's get into the main slate here. And we will start with the odds and totals. So I'll make my screen a little bit smaller. You don't need to see me that much here. Biggest money line favorite is the Avalanche against the Wild. The Blues minus 160 against LA, Coyotes and Maple Leafs both minus 150 respectively. The Maple Leafs with the biggest implied total at 3.6. And again, these numbers are all thanks to Fantasy Labs free feature on their Vegas dashboard page. So always check those out throughout the day as lines will move. Avalanche with a 3.2 implied total, Blues 3.1, Flames 3, and the Flyers 2.9. Calgary and Toronto is the only game, honestly, that's a 6.5 total. All the rest are 5.5. I could see maybe a couple of them pushing over to 6, like the Avalanche and the Wild, maybe even the Flyers and Rangers. But overall, I think, most of the goals, most of your target are going to be on these top two teams. And then I think you can sprinkle in some other spots. So let's get to the center position. None other than Austin Matthews and Toronto disappointing everybody with David Rittich pitching a shutout against them after they stacked their top line with Tavares, Marner, and Matthews. That's mainly due to some injuries with Joe Thornton, and Hyman was out. So I think in today's skate, they skated exactly the same. They skated with Matthews, Tavares, and Marner. So, unless other news comes out that those guys are returning or a morning skate tells us differently, I think that's how they will operate. And we did see in some of that game where Tavares did still move back to the second line. So we'll see. It's like when things aren't working, then you see coaches like that shuffle it up. Nathan McKinnon coming off of a clunker against Vegas. I think will be lower owned than Austin Matthews, but I think both are firmly in play. And getting McKinnon ever at home just like is automatically a big boost for him. Then just like this is actually the pricing, right? Like the next most expensive center, and maybe I think Kevin Hayes is in here somewhere, but I just passed on him. I don't really like him, but Braden Shen 6.1. They're like, there's a massive drop off. Braden Shen 6.1 put up kind of a clunker as well in his last game against LA, but I still think he is in phenomenal form this season, and I still like him at 6.1. Same with Kopitar, and then Micah Zibanejad finally getting that goal. He's just been getting huge time on ice, a lot of shots on goal, a lot of high danger chances, and finally converted the one. I think that was against Washington. So I think he'll be a popular center too, depending on, if people don't go Matthews and McKinnon. Maybe you'll see a lot of Matthews, Zibanejad. And, normally I think you would see Matthews like Tavares, but Tavares actually got switched to winger after playing one game at winger. So kind of funny how that worked out. But Ryan O'Reilly at 5.8 is in play. Elias Lindholm, I do like just in the game environment with Toronto. I think there's obviously a lot of opportunities for goals. And we saw that with Monahan too, who had the awesome power play goal in the game on Monday night. And he's 4.6 is like the cheapest you'll ever see out of him. He doesn't really have a floor, honestly, but in a high paced game where there potentially could be a lot of power plays and things like that, I think he's viable at 4.6. Backlund also for Calgary is kind of cooling off, and I think actually getting back to like where he's supposed to be. He's not a guy that averages 3 to 4 shots on goal a game and puts up, he's always been on the ice a ton, but he's been more of their like defensive stopper. And now he's actually, skating on like a lot of times the third line because Monahan and Lindholm are on the first two lines. I don't know. I think his price is finally probably coming back to where it should be now that Monahan is back. Dylan Strome, Ryan Strome here for the Rangers has been really good the last few games, so I like him at 4.2. He would not correlate with Zibanejad. They both play center. So Strome would correlate with like Kreider. I don't know who. I think Blackwell is the other winger on that second line. Velarde has been a really good value almost all season, honestly, for the LA Kings, and he continues to skate with Jeff Carter and gets a lot of really good opportunities and loves to shoot. Victor Rask, like just insane form. And now I think last game, 2 goals. I'm not going to pull it up right now, but I think he had 2 goals last game and an assist. But he's had points, I think, in his last 3 out of 4 games. 2.7K. I mean, you can't really go wrong with the amount of ice time he's getting. And honestly, and I'll mention this at the end when I get there, I really, really like their value stack. You could easily use that line stack with the Colorado 1 stack, with a Toronto 1 stack. So I think they honestly will be really popular in GPPs just because of how cheap you can correlate that line. All right, let's get to the winger position. Mitch Marner, 8.5. I think I would normally say overpriced, but I think I don't think he is, honestly. I think it's the best team to target on the slate. It's the best game to target. It's the best line to target. And I think if you erase whatever happened in the last game out of your short memory, then you're not even really batting an eye at the price. And Mitch Marner's been in the best form of almost everybody except for his other line mate, Austin Matthews, for the last 2 weeks. So Mitch Marner, 8.5K, I think will be a decision point for a lot of people on the slate. I think he goes lower owned than McKinnon. Maybe. I think Matthews is the highest owned of the 3. But I would, maybe positionally, he just gets more ownership over McKinnon. But I think people tend to find more value like we have here at the winger position anyway. Mikko Rantanen, 7.3. I think you're getting a really actually nice discount on Rantanen here in a home matchup. Kevin Fiala, 7.1. Finally getting that 7K bump, right? Probably too expensive for me on this slate, honestly. But GPP for me on the road as the biggest underdog on the slate. But Connor Garland, I wish he was still back like a little bit lower 6s, but I love Arizona here in the matchup with Anaheim. I don't think we see 7 goals again that we saw, 7 or 8 goals that we saw in the last game. So my expectations are a little bit tempered for just Arizona's upside, but I think Connor Garland in a vacuum is a phenomenal play. John Tavares would be a cheaper pivot. You're looking at like 1.7K cheaper than Mitch Marner. If they come out in warmups and he's still skating with Matthews, you're going to get power play and even strength correlation with Matthews. Mike Hoffman, 6.3. I still think I'm on the Blues here. Perron's fine too, but Perron's like 6.7. It's just kind of a crazy price. But Hoffman, is finally getting unleashed in St. Louis, being used on the power play 1, getting a top 6 spot where he was in the 3rd line there for a while. So I really like him at 6.3. Buchnevich is going to be skating with Zibanejad. So I think, again, he is a nice little pairing with Zibanejad, especially in GPPs. Dustin Brown, if you've listened to my shows, I like Dustin Brown and Kopitar and Iaflalo. I like those guys. I think it's a nice correlated stack. They're always, since Brown got back on the top line, they have full line 1 correlation. They have full power play correlation with those 3 plus Doughty. So I like those lines that you don't have to get super cute to figure out how to cover their goals. Kind of like Montreal today. Like Montreal went off against Ottawa tonight with a lot of weird goals happening, like 2 from Shea Weber, but their correlation just never really works out right. Like the guys that are on the top line together don't skate on the power play together. And it's just, so I prefer teams that I can really condense the correlation. So Kaprizov at 4.6 leads the league for rookies in points. And I think he's had points in his last at least 3 out of 4 games. So I really like him. And he is one that this is the mini stack that I'm talking about here, is Victor Rask at center, Kaprizov and Zuccarello You're talking a stack. Let's see if I can do the math on the go here of 6.4. You're talking a stack of 11K. So, I mean, between those three, you can get a lot to work with that. And you could even stack one of the defensemen with that stack, like Dumba or Brodeen or Spurgeon or Suter. Now that they're all back, they're all DFS viable. But Raquel with 6 shots on goal last game. If you look at some of the metrics on him, he's, like top 15, top 20 in high danger chances. So it's just a matter of time before those shots on goal go in. This might not be the best matchup for it to happen, but the price is just so enticing that he's really that close to a goal and or multiple assists in a lot of these games. So Zuccarello, I think, will be pretty popular as a punt, even though it's not the best matchup, but I think he's fine. Comtois, still, I thought was going to get kind of a line rush bump when they kind of redid some of the lines, but he still stayed on the third line, which is actually fine. He actually correlates with Raquel, which is another really cheap stack. Would be Raquel, Comtois, and I think it's Lundstrom, who's playing center. He's pretty GPP to me, but Comtois and Raquel are going to skate together. And then Trevor Zegras, we know one of the best, if you follow NHL at all, one of the best up and coming prospects. Got playing the second line, I think, in his debut. I think had 2 or 3 shots on goal, but was phenomenal for the USA team too when he played with them. So really like him at 2.7. I think he'll be one of the more popular value plays on the slate. All right, let's go to defense. Defense is kind of crazy too. Like, I don't love paying 6.5 for Morgan Riley. He's just way too dependent on goal or assists. Cale Makar has been not very good recently. I know he was injured, but he would be like the full correlated play with McKinnon and Rantanen. And Landeskog is not skating with that top line. I forgot to mention that. Burakovsky, who's also a decent value winger because of the line equity, is going to be the guy skating on that line. So Burakovsky will not get power play one time because that will be Kadri, Landeskog, Rantanen, McKinnon, and Makar. But yeah, so it was just a little bit of a side note. So Makar and Riley, I don't really love either. Chychrun, I like the matchup, and I think he's a phenomenal player. But I think I'm going to be landing more in this mid-range or punting. Adam Fox, one of the highest shot plus block shot players in the league this season, 5.9K. I think he is a nice little small correlated play with, like Zibanejad and Buchnevich. Drew Doughty, 5.7, is obviously, I talked about it before, really well correlated with the other Kings. So I like him. And he has a good floor of peripherals. Devin Taves with like 4 or 5 games in a row with double digits, and it's like 6 block shots and just a lot of floor, which is really nice to see. And then you get him in a really good matchup. And he had a lot of floor last year. I forget who he played for. Chicago, maybe. I don't remember. I think it was somebody other than Colorado, but I'll take a look after this is done. But yeah, he's always had a lot of floor. So really like him. Justin Falk, I'm going to kind of keep banging my head on Falk's name until he produces, because he was producing before he got this expensive. And, so put him back down to the 4Ks and then he'll start producing again. But Falk in a good position, seeing tons of ice time, seeing top power play time. So he correlates well with, Braden Shen and Mike Hoffman, O'Reilly, those guys. Giordano, somebody that normally would be like 6K plus, but this year has really conceded some of his time on ice to the guy right below him is Anderson, who's 4.7K. I like both of them. I really like both of them because recently we've seen a pretty high floor between the two of them. And then you put them in a matchup that has the highest total of the slate, and just knowing going up against a team like Toronto that likes to shoot the puck a ton, that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for block shots. There's going to be opportunities for like a counter attack where he could definitely get some, assist equity. And so I think both are firmly in play in the mid-range. Cam Fowler had a goal and assist, I think, in the last game, kind of busted out of what I think was kind of a slump, even though he's always been super cheap. So probably wasn't really a slump when he was having like 5 to 6 DK a game. But with the injury to Hampus Lindholm, I think, that's just going to increase his role even more. Even though Kevin Shattenkirk is kind of like their number one offensive defenseman, but I think Cam Fowler is going to step up in those roles. So the rest of these guys here, like besides K'Andre Miller, who we know obviously has immense upside and is getting 20 plus minutes on ice, he's probably like has the highest upside of these guys down here. But Tanev, Roy, and sorry, not Roy, I think it's Waugh, and Goligoski, all these three are like have good floors, but you're probably looking at like 4 to 6 DK. So if you're okay with that at that price tag, then I think it's viable to punt, because you do see a lot of GPP stacks where if you want a full stack, you just really have to pay down like this at defense, and you got to be okay with 4 to 6 DK, because you're hoping that your line stacks, can hit, I don't know, like 40, 50 points if they match up on a bunch of goals. So goalie position, one of my least favorite per usual. There wasn't even anybody I wanted to mention at value, honestly. I think, assuming Freddie Anderson comes back, I think he actually will be pretty popular at 8.2. Biggest, one of the bigger favorites on the slate. I do think Toronto comes back a lot better. Grubauer at 8.5, the biggest home favorite, I think will be popular. Binnington, 8.3. I do like Kemper. If you really don't think Anaheim does well here, Kemper at 8K is nice. Just it's always a little bit reluctant on how many shots on goal he's going to see. Carter Hart could be pretty popular as well, just being home against the Rangers. But I think the odds are going to be pretty close when it gets to lock. And then Gibson, I always just like mention him as a GPP target, because he is a phenomenal real life goaltender and always sees a ton of shots, even if his team is an underdog. So line stacking, I kind of already mentioned most of these here. Tavares, Matthews, Marner, and Riley, and McKinnon, Rantanen, Burakovsky, and Makar. I think these two will be really popular pay-up options for, especially in GPP. I don't think in cash you need to go all in like on Toronto 1 plus Riley. I think you could get away with at least 2 of those guys, and then maybe you can sprinkle in like maybe you can go like Matthews, Tavares, and McKinnon and Burakovsky, and you're getting pieces of both of them at and getting the cheaper secondary option. So but I love the value stack of Kaprizov, Rask, and Zuccarello. And then Zibanejad, Buchnevich, Lafreniere. I know you guys helped me out on this one last time. I know he's a phenomenal offensive prospect stud. Let's just go back to the Laffy. I think it's Lafreniere, probably something like that, and then plus Fox. So I think that's a nice, really mid-range value stack as well. None of those guys are going to be over. Zibanejad's probably the most expensive. Him and Fox at like 5.9. So you could 2-man, 3-man stack that as well. So thanks again for listening, guys. I just greatly appreciate those of you that are like coming back every day just to check to see if there is a puck drop because you're interested in it, or you're reaching out like, hey, where's the puck drop? Like, I love seeing that interest in it. And that gives me the motivation to continue to put out this free content. And all the free content we have going on here at FSI is just phenomenal. We have soccer, NASCAR, esports, NBA every day, this NHL content, and so much more. And with MLB and all these other things coming right around the corner, we are going to continue to provide this type of content for you guys. So thanks again for listening, and good luck tonight. And if you're wanting those scores for those first 2 games, hit me up on Twitter, and I can show you how to get hooked up into our premium Discord channel. Thanks a lot.